What's going on, everybody? Sean Pierce Johnson here, kicking off the second half of this season of Stompbox Saturday with the bang with the Ethos Overdrive, a somewhat mythical and legendary pedal in its own right, much like the amp that it seeks to emulate, being a Dumble. Now, this pedal will get you those tones at a fraction of the cost of a Dumble, and without all the headaches of getting it either. So there's a ton of features on this. It's a pro pedal if ever there was one. So let's take a look. 2 channels, clean and dirty. Awesome. They all have 4-band EQ with treble, middle, bass, and presence. There's tons of gain on tap for the dirty channel. You can go from a nice, smooth fusion tone to a raucous and heavy rock tone, and we'll take a look at that later. Each channel has 3 toggle switches, a bright switch, a modern classic switch, and a rock jazz switch. We'll take a look at how those are used later. Now, other than what's on the face of the pedal, there's knobs and switches around the outside of the pedal. On the right-hand side, we have the GAC switch, which is guitar amp compensation, which we're using right now running into the front end of my orange rocker verb. There's a high cut knob for you to tailor the amount of high end that you get out of the pedal. And then on the left side here is a tight low end switch, which basically tightens up the bottom end in a more modern sound. And then if you want to turn that off, you get that more sagging low end of our favorite vintage amplifiers. The last thing that's on the outside of the pedal is the Hrm Eq, which, if you think about it like this, it's sort of like a mastering EQ for the dirty channel, providing you with even more tonal flexibility in adjusting the dirty channel. But that's not all. This thing can run in the front end of an amplifier. You can even run it into your computer, into your DAW to record direct. You can run it into the front of the mixing desk. Tons of features, tons of tones, enough of my yakking. Let's get right to it. So to really get a feel for what these toggle switches on each of the channels do, I find that you really hear the effect best on the clean channel. So what I've got going right now with my orange rocker verb is my pretty basic clean tone, which I really like. It's nice, it's warm, it's very British, if you will. Now, Dumble amplifiers being based on old Fender amplifiers, much more in the American school of thought. The Ethos, starting with all the knobs at 12 o'clock, gets us pretty close to that sparkly Fender sound. A lot more high end in that, a little bit of a scoop mid-range, really nice. Well, a lot of that comes from the bright switch, which I currently have engaged. Let's turn that off. You can definitely hear the decrease in brightness. Let's turn that back on. Certainly makes it seem a little bit more lively. Now, one of the other things I like to do with the clean channel is throw it into the classic mode, basically giving us a more vintage sound, whatever that means. But I find that for a clean channel, it's just a nice, a little bit spongier, a little bit warmer, not quite so abrupt in its attack. It's really nice and mellow. See, really nice and warm, whether you're going in between on the two pickups in the middle position or going to the neck pickup. A really nice feel to it. Let's check out how that sounds with a modern setting. Bit of a quicker attack, a little bit more abrupt in the low end. Personally, for the clean channel, the classic mode wins. Now the rock jazz thing. This is probably where there's going to be some contention amongst people as to what sounds best. Personally, to my ears, I find that the rock setting works best. You get a little bit more mid-range punch and maybe a little bit more coloration, whereas with the jazz, it's going to be, well, I'll let you judge by the sound for yourselves. So here's the rock setting. And now switching to the jazz. Certainly less full, you can hear that. Almost like you get a little bit of compression going on there, definitely less output. So for me and for my taste, the rock mode wins every time. Okay, now we're going to switch over the dirty channel. And this is really the channel of this pedal that really made me see how versatile this style of amp could be if people were willing to push it as far as I like to push it. Now, Dumble amplifiers are usually associated with fusion guys. Guys like Robin Ford, Larry Carlton, and a couple of rock guys have had it. Mark Tremonti from Alter Bridge plays one, and guys like John Mayer play them. You name it. Just about everybody that is anybody that has considered to have great tone has had a Dumble amplifier. But not many guys in the rock or hard rock genre, like myself, really use Dumble amplifiers. Well, the Ethos, as I've discovered, can get you really raucous rock tones. Really nice, warm, just a little bit of bite to that. I'm keeping the bright switch off, and of course I've got it in the modern setting and the rock setting. Really nice. Oh, and not to mention the tight low end really helps with the dirty sound. Now, here's the cool thing. There's also a built-in boost, so if I want to take a solo and, really rip it up, I could go ahead and do that, and of course if I had like a nice long Gilmour-esque delay, oh boy, we're in the tone zone right there. But the really cool thing about the dirty channel on this pedal is just how flexible it is. Combining the EQ controls and the toggles that you have on the face of the pedal with the high cut knob and the Hrm EQ in the front, man, you could sit and tweak for hours. And of course, I can even increase the gain even more, and this is really all the gain that this pedal can produce. Probably one of the coolest things for me about the Ethos is the fact that it has a speaker simulator out. Now, I happen to live in a neighborhood where the houses are fairly close together, and sometimes when I do these videos, I have to crank my amplifier rather loud in order to get that tone that I'm after. Some of the neighbors don't mind it, but some of the neighbors do. The speaker simulator out takes care of that completely. Right now, in the room, you're literally gonna hear nothing. Just me jangling away on an electric guitar that you can't hear. Well, it's a completely different story when we bring in the Ethos. A nice clean sound going straight into my computer, into the DAW. Really nice, really clean, really pristine. And hey, if I wanted to crank the gain up and I wanted to rock out all night, I could very well do that whenever I please. Really nice. Add all the other features that we've taken a look at, this thing is an incredibly flexible recording and practicing tool for the home, studio, the gig, whatever. This thing can do it all. Well, everybody, I hope you enjoyed this look at the Ethos Overdrive. This thing really exceeded my expectations. I personally like it going straight into the board, into a PA system, or into the computer versus in front of the amp, but seriously, this really opened my eyes as to how versatile a Dumble-style amplifier can be. You know, if only the amps were more readily available, a lot of us would be able to get these awesome tones. Hope you guys enjoyed this look, and stay tuned for next week's Stompbox Saturday. And until then, happy stomping. Cheers.